it. But we have to start with our boy Dricus from South Africa, right? Um, yeah. So, where do we start from? So,
That was the fight of the night.
there
That was
was
the fight
there
of the
was
night.
right. To be honest, I was more excited about those
Yeah,
exchanges than
fight
the
of the
fight
night
night itself.
award.
And they did this thing called a seasonal press conference. So that is a couple of main events of the upcoming pay per view will be pulled together. So there'll be a press conference, and then they will try to sell those fights. Obviously, that would work in UFC's favor because there isn't any marquee star on any of those cards. It's they are MMA fan. They are MMA stars, but not really superstars like Dricus, like Sean Strickland. Uh Maybe Volk a bit, Toporia, Sugar Show. What am I talking about? They are all stars. Um, yeah. So that happens. That happens. That happened in the build to UFC 296. The press conference happened, and it was entertaining as heck. Well, we had the loose cannon, who is Sean Strickland, up there, and you know the amount of things that he's going to talk. Sean Strickland has no filter on his mouth. Sean
Zero.
Strickland, if you, I bet you, if you put a counter for the F word that he said in the press conference, F word upon F word, he probably said F word 500 times before the press conference finished. Because I was listening to a broadcast that was bleeping the heck out of the F words, and I couldn't hear a word that Sean Strickland was saying. It was bleeping this, bleeping that, bleeping this. But let's go into that real quick, right? So a couple of things happened in that press conference. We saw Sean Strickland constantly attack Dricus for his sort of like relationship with his coach, Maron Visa, that is, Dricus's coach, which has, I think it's probably a South African culture or something where they kiss each other in the mouth, and we've seen that with Cameron Simon, and we've seen that with Dricus, so where they just kind of like kiss in the mouth. But um, sort of like the Arabians, they kiss on the cheeks and stuff. I really don't know. South Africans will probably have to explain that to me if it's a thing for them down there. But Sean Strickland could not shut up about it. I remember I was counting the amount of times that he was bringing it up about, he was talking about Drickers and his coach being in a sexual relationship. He spoke about that like 5 times before, before Drickers dropped, dropped his comeback. All right, so I'm gonna tell you guys exactly what Drickers says. I pulled a quote here from sportskida.com. This is Rickers after the fifth time that Sean Strickland mentioned him and his coach in a sexual manner. So Rickers said, "Bro, why are you so angry? You think your dad beat the shit out of you? Your dad doesn't have shit on me. I'm going to show you what it's like to get beaten. Every childhood memory you have is going to come back." So if you don't know, Sean Strickland had opened up in the past about his his violent father and his upbringing where he got his ass kicked a lot. And this is what Dricos was referencing to. And then a triggered shot Sean Strickland then came back with, I quote, I will take your effing soul. You understand me? You effing P word? That is, I don't know if I can say it. Yeah, you did hit a nerve, you effing biatch. That's what he said to Dricus. All right, so a lot of people have been saying Strickland is no saint, right? Everybody knows him to be a loose cannon. He talks whatever he wants to say, and a lot of time people turn their face the other way because they'll just the response to whatever he says is, "Oh, it's Strickland, he's crazy," and then he gets away with saying the most outrageous things that would get a normal celebrity to get cancelled. Strickland cannot get cancelled because it's Strickland. So um that's sort of like the sentiment around MMA world. They'll be talking about how uh well Strickland cannot complain. But first of all, let me take your reaction with the press conference in general. What did you think?
Wow. So for me, right, I don't like crossing sensitive lines. I don't like to, and of course, too low, too wrongs do not make it right, right? When you go low, it's actually not a good thing to go lower. So the press conference, it was really crazy. We know who Strickland is, right? But then it's not acceptable. Let me put it that way. Like there are some lines that are not meant to be crossed. Religious lines, family lines, political lines. I like to stay off those lines. Do not cross.
Yeah. Well, there is also a press conference that happened with Kobe Covington. I guess we'll talk about that in a segment later in the show where Kobe went way, way, way over the board with when he was trying to sell his fight with Leon Edwards. We get to that. But yes, my opinion about this, right? My opinion might be biased because I'm an African and obviously I'm rocking with Dricus because I believe if Dricus takes that title, which I believe he certainly will, he is going to bring a fight night to or a pay-per-view to Africa. So
Yeah.
our glorious dream of UFC Africa would certainly come to fruition with if Dricus does actually win that title. That's what I think. That's one. So obviously I'll be biased with this, but I've never been a fan of Sean Strickland. I just see him as an entertainer, even though I cringe so many times when he speaks because, like, from that press conference, again, the amount of f bombs he dropped was so much for any broadcast. Um. Yeah. So let's bring Toby in here. Hopefully his internet connection will hold up. What's up, Toby? How you doing?
I'm good. Good evening, guys. What's happening?
Why do you always have to make a late entry into the show? Why do you always have to do this? Anyways, guys,
Toby, what's up?
we are not going to waste our time on Toby. All right, Toby, catch up,
Game,
okay?
game.
So, I think Dricus went overboard. We've got Courageous Empire here saying the sport is filled with hypocrites. Crazy how Strickland couldn't handle the taste of his own medicine, and I still see Strickland beating Dricus. Oh boy. Okay. Courageous Empire still think Strickland beats Dricus. I think that's outrageous. I think Dricus finishes him. I don't think we'll get to see the Georges card, but I guess we'll do that when it gets to prediction time. But, but, um, did any of you see a post that Dricus did where he caught a clip? I think it's from an interview with Sean Strickland, where Sean Strickland was saying people should get more beaten by their dads. I don't know if he's trying to do dark humor or dark joke or laughing at his own misery. But if you are capable of saying those sort of things, you shouldn't be triggered by situations like this. Will you not agree? I think Toby, can you give us your 2 cents about the press conference between Dricus and Sean Strickland? Do you think Sean Strickland went over the board? Okay, we lost Toby, so I'm never asking Toby again. All right,
So
let's segue to
okay.
fight night.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to quickly put in something, right? Right. Like I said earlier, if a person goes low, do not go lower, right? They both went overboard, right? And it is what it is. So we can move on with that.
I swear I don't fault Dricus at all because at the top of this segment, I did say that Dricus did actually was holding back of using that missile because when you're coming to press conferences like this, you've already predetermined what your opponent is going to fire at you, and in your head you've already predetermined what your response is going to be, and I'm pretty sure um Dricus was holding his own ammo to his heart that I'm going to bring up his violent relationship with his father. But then Sean Strickland kept on attacking. At some point, he even used the F word. He called him and his coach the F word and saying they should go to the back and do it. He constantly berated at Dricus 5 times. 5 times before Dricus just mentioned this one thing. It's almost like I hate to say this because people will say I'm sexist. So I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it.
Do not
So,
get cancelled.
yeah,
Do not get
it's okay.
cancelled, my man.
Okay. I'm not gonna get cancelled, but it's like when you are arguing with when a woman is coming at you, oh you this, oh you that, oh you this, and then you turn around and be like, you look like you are 50 years old, right? That is like the end of it. Like you went there, how dare you take it over there? Do you understand? So it's sort of like that with Sean Strickland. He was going on and on and on and on about Dricus' relationship with his coach. But once Dricus just mentioned his dad and beating him like his dad, my guy went like, "Oh, struck a nerve. Yes, I'm gonna take your soul." Blah blah blah. But I think if these guys actually prepared coming to the show that okay guys, let's try to sell our pay-per-view in Toronto, what are we going to do? You mentioned this and I mentioned this, and maybe on the fight night we sit next to each other and we brawl. If that was their plan, I'm telling you, it worked 100% because a lot of people that never cared about that fight certainly do now right now. A lot of people would buy that pay-per-view because of the antics that happen now.
Bringing
So
what they can to sell the fight, man. And
yeah,
this is
Toby,
what
what do you
COVID.
think?
I mean, I agree with you on this one. For me, I was just thinking that, this is just another fight. Let's just see who's going to become champion at the end of the day. But both of them have played their part in making this fight very, very interesting. Now, I can't wait to see the fight. I want to be like, okay, what's going to happen? Who's the bigger man? But let's see.
It will be you and your internet connection. Yeah, I bet everybody heard what you said. But uh let's segue to Fight Night. Fight Night UFC 296 clips, different angle clips, videos start coming up of uh Sean Strickland jumping into, I think they were like 2 rows apart. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a pictorial representation of what happened, and I'm sure everybody that sees this
Crazy,
podcast already
crazy
seen it.
run of
But
events.
so when the UFC do like the cameos, the celebrity seat cameos, so they did Dricus and then they pan out to Strickland. They did it like the way they shoot The Office. If you watch The Office TV show, camera on this guy's face, and then camera moves to this guy's face while Dricus was still in shot. So that was a very beautiful video work. So they did Dricus and then they did Strickland, and they still maintained Dricus still in shot, so we could see both guys without them awkwardly standing next to each other. So they put them across each other. And again, because of that camera angle as well and the way the sitting arrangement is, still makes me think that this might have been predetermined. Because a lot of people are overlooking these tiny details. Because if I was in the production room and be like, how do we get these guys on the big screen and get them to brawl? Right? It doesn't make sense to put them sitting side by side, right? It only makes sense for them for the camera to be able to take one shot that would have both of them on the shot. So that means that one of them would have to be sitting behind the other. So they just put them 2 rows apart, or maybe it's just a row apart. Do you understand? So um I actually do think maybe maybe there might be a chance that this was scripted. But regardless, what happened was after the camera panned away, we could see with the gestures that Dricos was kind of like, look at me or talk to me or face me. You're facing away or something. And then Sean Strickland asked some kid that was sitting behind him to move away.
That's Gilbert Bond's son.
Yeah, and then he stepped on a seat and jumped and launched himself on Dracos and dropped some elbows, and it was just a scuffle. It was just a scuffle, but it got people talking, and I am surely pumped to see this fight. What do you think, Demola? And
In terms of
who the heck among you has something playing in the background?
that is stupid.
Probably me. Give me a minute.
That is stupid.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so in terms of the antics, right? I do not
Mm-hmm.
think it's a scripted. I do not think it's scripted, right? But then I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the organizers, the guys in charge of that when I say organizing, they had a hand in this thing, right? How convenient is it for you to put these guys? You know, these guys are enemies, right? They're sworn enemies, and then you put Dricus behind Strickland. We all know Strickland is a loose cannon, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
it is what sees. They're trying to sell the fight because when you look at the two of them, they aren't like really big draws, the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to find a way in which you put these guys in a heated atmosphere where they can have that natural interaction. So in terms of scripting, no, but in terms of setting them up for being in a heated environment, yes, that is the deliberate effort and great work, great work. Kudos to the team for doing that. It's just like being in a room with Kobe Covington. When you're going to fight Kobe, Kobe will always do something to provoke you. So they knew there was that chance of provocation, and that's why you can see the security were able to come in, quite fast to to settle the whole situation. But then it was fun seeing it, and it has the eyes of casuals on that fight right now. So people want to see that fight. People want to know the outcome. And that's how to get eyes to what the fight. That's how to sell pay-per-views.
So another thing is another angle you can look at this is a very, very bad look for the UFC. A lot of people do know the story about how how long it took for the UFC to actually be legalized across the 50 states of America and across the world as well. So
Mhm.
people look at the sports like, oh, the fighters, they are animals, they cannot control themselves. So this sort of narrative of the fighters being animals is something that the UFC fought very hard to curb, right? And then we've got now a champion that is putting innocent people's lives in danger. Okay, I'm trying to be a diplomat here, right? So there were kids around there, and then starting a brawl like that.
He told the kid to move. If you watch that video very well, he told that
Yes,
child just
but
move, move. I
but
want to do
where would
something.
where would the child go? Where would the
Uh,
child go?
the
Because
child,
it
the
was
child moved
it's a
to
crowded
the other
space.
side.
I remember they also had Donald Trump there. You know the important people that they had there. It's not a good look. I think it's very, very horrible. I think I think the UFC are tired of Strickland being a champion, to be honest. And I think everything that the company that or the business needs in a champion, Dricus has it, and I think Dricus will be a better champion. However, I think Easy will be the best champion, but I think Dricus will certainly be a better champion and the face of a brand.
This
What
is
do you
the
think,
height
Toby?
of bias. This is the height of bias, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Toby, what do you think? Abi Toby know they hear us. Oh gosh. I swear it's starting
Right.
to get frustrating with Toby, I swear, with his internet
You
connection.
just did comparative and superlative bias. Comparative in terms of Drake, superlative in terms of easy. Well done, my man.
Bro, I'm Nigerian. I'm African, but I'm Nigerian first. Even in Nigeria like this now, if there was another fighter that is from Sokoto State, right, that could be a champion,